6:35, so I will call the special called work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Wednesday, May 27th, 2026 to order. We have a quorum, everyone is here. Go through the regular business meeting. I didn't make calls to everybody, I did talk to Kat today, but I haven't. So we may have a little more discussion on some of these things if y'all have questions. We have nothing until, of course, we'll have the approval of the agenda. We've got the approval of the minutes. Anybody up for the invocation? Michelle, thank you. And the pledge, anyone?
Sure.
And then we'll have the minutes, approval of the agenda for the public hearing portion. For those of you that are new on doing the budget, this is the time where we just open the floor. If anyone wants to come forward and ask questions or make comments about the proposed budget, they come forward and do that. It's very rare that anyone does that. It does happen occasionally, but not usually. So we'll just open the floor, see if anybody, but Matt this year, sorry. Matt this year is going to do a PowerPoint presentation on the budget for the public. So we look for it. I haven't previewed it, so I don't know what he's going to talk about.
Really exciting.
3 hours.
Really.
I know it will be.
Buckle up.
So he'll do the presentation and then I'll open the floor to any public comment if anybody wants to say anything. But council won't do anything at that point. Nothing under consent or old business. Under new business, we have the first reading for approving the budget. And that's a typical first reading. We're just waiving that and placing it on the June 8th agenda. Okay, for the second reading. So we actually have, if anybody either has not gone, as deeply through it as you want to, or if you have questions, anything, we still have a couple weeks to either, you're welcome to call me, of course, call Matt or Mercy, and they can go through any questions. Item B, you want to talk about the salary survey? Because I can't remember if we've talked about that.
So we mentioned it during budget meetings, really. Thank you, Jason. What it is so 3 years ago, 2022, we engaged a firm to do what you call a classification and compensation study. What that is essentially is the compensation side is to see if you're in the market of what similar jobs at other places are paying. The classification side is when you classify a job, you assign a certain pay range to it. Right. So the result of that study was the city got to a $15 minimum wage. So the lowest entry-level position in the city, we paid at least $15. We created that classification chart. We assigned all the positions that the city has to a pay range. There, and we created the pay range. So that. We functioned under that for about 3 years now, and we feel like it's a good time to see if we are still within the market. Are we still paying people essentially what the market rate is for those roles relative to our competitors out there? Okay. We also talked about our goal as a management team is to get us to $20 an hour as a minimum, pay. $15 an hour is just not a wage really here nowadays. But while you're talking about $5 an hour from entry level, there's ripple effect for that. It's not just $5 an hour for one position. You've got to look at everybody to make sure every position you have is competitive to the market. So what the salary study will do that market analysis for us. Well, they'll go out, collect that information, show us where we are. They'll give us essentially, from what I understand, at the end of it, a dollar amount of, well, this is what you need to do in order to be at market rate. This is the dollars you need to commit to be at market rate for the positions you have. Here's what you need to do to get to that $17 minimum. You know, I think the ultimate goal is 20, but let's try to get to 17, and then we can work our way to that over time, so we can continue to attract and retain the employees that we have. So that's what this study is meant to accomplish. Carl Benson, as a student of government, is kind of a public service consulting arm that is connected to the University of Georgia's program, right? So they provide a wider range of services. This is one of them. Trainings, everything ranging from finance training to downtown development to public works. I mean, all different types of opportunities, there. So they're a well-respected consulting firm, if you want to call them that, even though they're public employees, but they're a well-respected firm. We feel good about them. We feel like the price is reasonable for what we're getting, there. And then next budget, we can talk about it. We'll have the results of that study that Mercy will bring to you all to say this is where we kind of try to get to, and we can talk about it there. But without absent that data, we can't talk much about it with you. And I think we're at risk of falling further and further behind, where we are. So, any questions about that?
Is this the one with the email came out with the two, or that's something separate?
Not with the two.
With the one that came out with the might be something separate with the 87,000 and the 50,000.
That's a different one. That's a different item.
Yeah, that's
a different item.
That's the,
The separate. Okay. No question about this.
Did we say how much it cost?
15,000
15,000, yeah.
something.
Thank you.
Hold on, I'll give you.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
15, it's
15,136.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm gonna need y'all's help on this, because I'm locked out of my email on my iPad. So I can't get to my agenda packet.
That's what I was trying to do.
And this is the same company that did the other.
Different company.
It's a different company. That's a better.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
We're happy, we'd be happy. We weren't really happy with it. I mean, they did an okay job, but we don't want to.
Okay.
It's gonna become slave in management. He just want to.
He had health issues.
Yeah, he did actually. That's when he had like a heart attack in the middle of it.
Oh, wow. We put him into a heart attack?
No, he saw the weight.
Barbara.
Is
No,
it-
I mean, it's just happened.
Matt?
Happened. And, that aside, we just weren't as happy with that. So, but what they did was a full classification compensation. This is a portion of that. So in the next 2 or 3 years, we think we probably need to do a full again. At that point, it will be 5 years, and you want to keep up with that stuff. Best you can.
All right, item C is another first read that will waive to June the 8th, some updates to the solid waste, and this is in the code, correct?
Yes, this is the code, so, and when we do the second read, we'll provide you documents of the exact changes, but a lot of these changes relate to the contract that we approved with Waste Management that will take place, that will start July 1. So for instance, some of the changes that we made, we're not using the blue bag program anymore. We're giving bigger cans, we're doing that program now. And so, but that blue bag program is discussed in the code. So we need to remove that. Yard waste bags, again, we had a special program where you had to have a Snellville branded yard waste bag. We eliminated that as well. Just go buy the standard yard waste bag you can get at Lowe's and Home Depot and Ace. You don't need to have the branded one. That needs to be, struck out of there. We made some basic changes to the way that they tell us about what holidays they're taking. Before it was pretty standard. They were taking Christmas Day, I think, and Thanksgiving Day, maybe New Year's Day. And they can continue to take those, but really we want to know what holidays they're going to take off, at the beginning of the year, so we can go ahead and publish those so folks can be aware of them. And then usually what they do, that one day, they stagger the rest of the week, you know. So if the holiday's on Monday, then they're picking up Monday's trash on Tuesday, you know, Tuesday's trash on Wednesday, and they try to make up the best they can. But we want to be able to get out in front of that a little bit better, you know, there. I think one of the ones was the time, so it used to be 7 o'clock for residential pickup, you know, we've allowed them last few years to do 6 o'clock, you know, so, you know, morning, so we'll you know, change that code for that. I'm sure I'm missing other ones, we'll give you a list, but those are the kind of the ones that come to mind, you know, high level changes, you know, there. So really, it's a cleanup of the code to be in line with the current contract we have, you know, there, and the services we're providing. Again, it's a first read, so, you know, nothing for you guys to worry about, but there are questions, you know, about that we're happy to answer in between now and the next meeting.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
And it's a little off topic, but on topic. It was a little bit of misinformation, and I think I saw somewhere online where it's clarified with the blue bags specifically. They are good for the residents to use to the end of the year, or was that right?
I don't know if we're publishing that information necessarily, but I did ask Latham, you know, I don't want to punish people who bought them, you know, and want to use them, that they can use them until, you know, December 31st is what we've talked about. But that was kind of an agreement I asked them to honor. Because technically they don't have to July 1, because it's no longer a program we offer.
So that's
but I didn't really want to take a hard line with that if people had bought them.
So we don't have the back and forth. Is there something do we need to do to ensure, you know, if Latham is agreeing to ensure that those blue bags are something that we picked up through December 31st, or they're just like a handshake and a, you know, if we wanted to promise, I don't want to proceed, then we use it like, was it in policy or was it coded and all that?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not in the contract, you can't really hold them to it. So really, it's a handshake. I mean, it's me just asking you, you've been our hauler for 10 years, will you just do it?
Okay.
You know, because I can't hold you to it any more than that, because it's not in the code anymore. Or it won't be the code anymore, won't be the contract anymore. So I'm really relying on our relationship with them to say, will you just do this for like 6 months?
If
so
you
that
see any blue
folks
bags out.
Yeah, just grab them.
Okay.
You know, we're not gonna tell a bunch of people to do all that, but we don't wanna punish folks who bought them in June and didn't realize that the program is leaving.
Are the blue bags?
We're saddled with blue bags.
Are the blue bags still good to take to our recycling center?
You can't take
They can't take it.
Yeah,
Because
we're
that's
gonna take
household
trash.
trash.
Oh, just household trash.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
You can't
Just
do
for
that.
clarifying, so blue bags, they Latham will honor our request paper for 6 months, but it's not something written in code, so it's
Correct.
just something they're honoring.
It's just something they're doing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, for us as a gesture.
Until people use them up.
So use them up.
Okay.
So use them up.
But they're not available to purchase anymore.
I don't think they are at Kroger. I'm not sure about Publix. I think we kept a few at Public Works, because I think the program does run until, you know, June 30th. But I think they are off the shelves at Kroger.
And by then, most,
Recycling
everybody
out.
should have their 95-gallon
Right.
cart, so hopefully they won't even need them.
Yeah, now on that front too, while we're talking about that subject, you know,
It's the evil eye.
Because I know what you're about to say.
So, this is one of those times for me when I try to feel like I try to help do nice for a certain group of people, and it's gotten away from me here. So, we talked about.
It goes in that column of no good deed goes
I
unpunished.
guess. So, you know, a month ago, maybe about 6 weeks ago, I got a call from Public Works saying, there's a few folks that have trouble moving their cans, can they just keep their 65 bin? And I said, yeah, fine, I don't care, 65, you know, fine. If it's a harder time, I'm trying to make life harder for people, that's fine. I guess that word spread, that we're allowing folks to choose between their 95 gallon and 65 gallon. That was never really the intent of my comment of saying, hey, you can just keep it, you have a hard time moving it, you know, whatever. So, before you know it, Public Works was getting a lot of calls on, I want to keep my can, you know, I don't want a bigger can, you know, for whatever reason, you know, the original intent was, it's physically difficult for me to do it, and I don't really want to fool with a bigger can. Okay, fine. It snowballed on us, trying to ratchet that back. I think what we would suggest to people why I'm telling this to you all, is if you guys get calls to please, if you support this, to communicate this to folks if they do call you about it, is I think, you know, if people feel real strongly about keeping their 65-gallon can, you know, and you'd be surprised how attached people get to their cans. Fine, but when it comes time that it's busted and it's breaking and we're gonna replace it, we'll replace it with a 95-gallon bin. Because the industry's changing, Latham can't get a hold of as many 65-gallon bins, are being phased out, you know, there. We don't want Latham to have to keep with two different inventories. And, you know, Melissa, you got a 65, I got a 95, Barbara, you got a 65, 95, 95, 65, you know, and that. So if folks are really that attached to them, fine. But there's gonna come a time where those are gonna be gone. And you can do it now, or you can do it a few years from now, if you're that attached to it. But when the wheels break and they're cracked and their useful life is gone, when they are gonna be replaced, they're gonna replace the 95 gallons. Is there any concerns or questions about that?
About that, I did have a citizen say to me that they felt that the purchasing of an additional can of the 95 gallons, so they thought they were going to have the 65 and the 95, and then us coming out delivering the 95, they felt that there is a disconnect because they would have not bought a can if they knew the 95 gallon was coming to.
So
If they got a second.
they bought an extra can.
Correct. And they bought the extra, they bought the 95 can and they still had that 65, so they figured they had the two, but then to find out you were bringing in another one, they were like, well, I would have not bought that $95 can knowing
Sure.
that you would, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I'm like, the one that's trying to.
Gouge it, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but it was just maybe the way with which it was communicated, I thought it was pretty clear, but
Tried
trying
to
to
be.
understand how
Yeah.
someone else felt that way, but I got some calls on that.
Yeah, I just wish folks would call us and could explain that.
Right.
You know, maybe they, for whatever reason, didn't. I don't know. But
How many people did, it was three?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Just the.
So they signed up for an extra
So-
can and didn't
yeah.
really want it once they saw the big boy coming, right?
Well, they bought, I guess, how we explained, they had the 65, they had the signal that you want another can, you buy the can. They bought it. So then they had the 65 and the 95, and I guess that's what they figured.
They needed it. It was good.
But then when we said we were delivering free $95 cans, they were like, wait a minute.
I know, I
just
wouldn't have bought this one. Yeah.
That's right.
I get it. I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I wish they would have called us. Maybe they did and got confused, I don't know. But,
Yeah, because the renewal program on all of that was May 1st, you know, and so a lot of this new stuff.
I mean, we try to do as much of a, you know, postcards and all of, you know, Facebook, website, you know, all the information.
That was all for the
to get-
renewal program for the extra cans, which.
I guess the
is
postcard
different
might have been,
than-
but the other
yes.
stuff was for pickup, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
It is food for thought, maybe next time.
Yeah.
That's all. That's,
Yeah.
you know,
That'd
a
be
lesson to
graphic.
learn.
Yeah.
Well, it won't happen again for 3 more years.
But if it does come up, we will, you know, we can work on it.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I think that's where, you know, we are, and certainly don't want to advertise, folks, that you get a choice to keep your can. But if folks are really, you know, it's just not worth the effort to fight with them about a trash can. But the industry's changing, the contract is 95 gallons, Rick can't get a hold of as many 65 gallons anymore. There's no reason to have the hauler keep 2 different types of cans. I mean, you can do it now or you can do it later, but eventually it's gonna be a 95 gallon bin, and that's just the way it is.
65 is spaced
So
out.
it's gonna sound like a repeat question,
Yeah.
but I hope y'all okay with that.
That's
So, in this same situation as I spoke on before, it's not a policy, right? It's not written in the contract about keeping the 65 and 95. It's something the city is extending to the citizens, like, hey, if you wanna keep your 65, you can over the 95. Right?
I'm not extending anything.
Okay,
I'm not
that's-
advertising that at all. I'm just
All
saying
right.
someone calls
That's
and they're
fine.
adamant about
Yeah,
it,
we're-
fine, but we're not gonna go out there and tell people you
Gotcha.
get a choice.
All right.
I'm just saying, look, if people call, like, I really want my can, okay, let's not make a big federal case out of it, fine.
We won't make
Yeah.
a problem, we won't make a big deal out of it.
Out of them keeping it.
But the policy's 95 gallons.
95 gallons, that's what I want to know. So the target's 95, but once that 65 is broken, gone, you
You get
will
the
get the
95.
95 regardless.
That's right.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
it's phased out.
It's phased out.
Maybe
It's
when we
phased out.
get calls, I can say, you can keep it, just know that it's being phased out.
Yeah.
If anything happens, you're gonna get a money.
Yeah, it's just hard, they're not easy to get anymore, no one uses them anymore, I mean,
Thank you.
part of it's that contractor too. You know, I think even if, let's just say, we were like, no, we want 65s, we're never 95s, eventually it would happen to us. I mean, it's the way it goes. You know,
Cost you more money to try to find the 65.
it does. It does. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to make sure we're all clear.
Okay. Then we have the surplus of police vehicles. The approval of the engagement letter with CKH CPAs for the audit. I think Matt explained that before, that Jimmy Whitaker, who's been the auditor for eons, has retired, and this is the firm that he recommended.
That's right. So that's who we'll go with for this audit. If we have a positive experience with them, we'll might continue on with them. If it's not a good experience, then we can consider somebody else, down the line. I will say, just, if you're not as familiar with auditing firms, the contract is called acknowledgement letter.
Engagement.
Sorry, thank you. An engagement letter. It's not going to read like a contract. It doesn't say contract, like the traditional form that we're using. But it serves the same function. It's binding, and it's just a different name. There.
And if you actually read it, there's a lot of language in there that can seem very concerning. It is all very regulated in what language has to be in that letter. So, if anybody wants explanation, you can let me know. But there are procedures and criteria for what has to be communicated in that letter to the client.
And we're going with this company because the previous
Auditor recommended it. Yeah.
recommendation. So there was no sense in saying like a request for additional community. It's not
Request
needed.
for qualifications.
Qualification or proposals for multiple companies to apply. We just went on ahead and went with this one because we worked with them for so long and we value their opinion.
That's right. Yeah. So and the question you bring up is good. So for professional services like auditors, engineers, lawyers, you're not required. You can, but you're not required to go out. You can.
For bid.
For RFQ, RFP, you can interview folks and pick who you think is the right fit for you. So in this case, with an auditor, that's what I want to do. I want to go on a recommendation. With someone. This is not a low bid type service that you want done. You want to get the right firm in and not have problems getting the audit out all the time. So, yeah.
And then we have approval of a proposal from Jacobs for preparing a concept plan for the 124 Oakwood property that we own. You're going to talk about that one too, with who else you talked to. I mean, it kind of played out like Matt thought it would. Jacobs has done our comprehensive plan for years, so they've got all our background information. So we figured their pricing would be better than going to a different company.
No, that's good. So we started this conversation, I guess, back in December, right, of 25, of kind of redevelopment and this process. We're at this stage now where we've got that acreage there. We feel like the next step is to work on a concept plan that you can share publicly, get feedback on this is what we're looking to do with that property. We don't, and most cities don't, I would say pretty much any city does not have the expertise to conduct those type of concept plans, coupled with a market analysis, which is basically, what is viable in the market, what types of housing and commercial products are viable right now, what working financially, and then you've got a feasibility component that's part of this analysis. Is it's almost like well, I look at it almost like a pro forma of a sense of what can financially work there. What would a development partner say, I can do this here, yeah, I can buy the property for this much from the city, and I can do a product here that the city wants that works for them, but also, doesn't break the bank for me, it's a partnership there. We don't know any of that information, right now. We don't know what's feasible, what's viable, what market is on housing and other things, especially urban downtown. So that's part of this analysis. Now, part of what Barbara was alluding to, Jacobs was the firm that worked on our 2045 comprehensive plan update. I believe they worked on the 2040. I was not here for that 2040 plan, but I was thinking it was them.
Yes.
That worked
They've
on
done
that
them.
as well.
They've
So,
been doing it since I've been on council.
2000.
oh, okay. So decades worth.
Yeah. Of history.
Been a long time. So decades worth of information
Careful,
there, and so they got that database. They don't have to go out and try to collect all of that. We got a price from another firm, CPL, Patterson Lee. We've worked with them in the past. That was what you were alluding to, CJ, before, about that email, 87,000 or so. There to do similar work. So an extra almost 40 grand to do the same type of work.
Okay, so the firm that we have, the city has familiarity with is the one that we came in on the lower end.
That's right.
Got it,
That's
okay.
right. That's
All right,
right.
that makes more
And
sense.
we assume the reason why, and I don't know, but I assume the reason why is because they've done so much work for us before, that a lot of the data that they would need to analyze, they've collected over time from us.
And I'm gonna assume they just love working with us so
They
much.
actually said that about the mayor.
Huh?
They said they gave us a break because they like you.
Yeah, I'm sure that's.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, because initially when I read the email, I thought that the ones that we worked with initially was charging that amount. I was like, why would they, if they had all that information, why wouldn't it work? But, thank you, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have worked with Clark Patterson.
So the thought process would be, we hire, go with Jacobs, if you guys are okay with that, and on this item, I will add, I'm recommending, assuming that everyone is good with hiring them, but we're going back and forth, not back and forth, but we're negotiating, how do I say that? The contract form has yet to be approved by their attorneys. We sent them the contract that we use at the city. Their attorneys are reviewing it. They don't have it. Jacobs is a massive company. They'll tell you they, on New York Stock Exchange, blah, blah, blah. So, it just takes a long time for that stuff to work through their system. But they provided the scope and the fee breakdown. And so what we're asking you all to do is, if you would, assuming that this is something that you all agree, is to approve the fee and the scope breakdown, and then approve the contract pending, city attorney review, authorizing Barbara to sign that once it's been prepared there. But the important thing, as far as you guys are concerned, is the scope is right and the fee is right. The contract is our contract that we prepare with legal, so it's pretty boilerplate. We'll have the terms and we'll have, parties and things like that. That contract will not change the scope. It'll just make reference to it. It'll just say scope, see attachment A, and it'll be this, with that and the fee. So I don't know folks' comfort level with that, but we've done that in the past and would ask you to consider that for this until we get a contract. Their feedback back to us.
So the verbiage of the motion that you would make is, correct me on this, because I probably won't get it right, is I make a motion to approve Jacobs per the proposal, or per the scope, not to exceed $50,000, and authorize the mayor to sign after legal review,
Subject to city attorney approval.
subject to city attorney approval.
So our vote is like literally on the fee and the scope, the
Yes.
wording, and then the contract is, okay, all right.
Can you say
So-
that again? I'm sorry.
That's my question.
Good, no, finish your question.
My different.
And
Same
CJ, real
point.
quick, that's not really how we do things.
No.
You usually have the contract here,
Mm.
but their legal folks are reviewing it, haven't gotten back to us.
Like a
We don't really want to
45-day
delay
review.
on getting them started. So we're approving the scope and the fee and the contract, subject to Jay's review.
And I have to sign off on the form of the contracts anyway, that y'all approve. So, so the motion, Carrie, would be motion to approve the contract with Jacobs Engineering for an amount not to exceed $50,000, subject to city attorney approval and authorizing the mayor to sign all documents.
So, I mean, we have done this before.
Yeah, it's not
And-
ideal.
and yeah, it's not
It's not
ideal,
my preference either, but.
but it's, the main parts are done. It's the work that's gonna be done, what the price is.
So I got a question, sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Catherine.
I don't feel comfortable with this either, because my question is there anything negative that can come out of us signing ahead and voting on this?
Well, we haven't
You're not
signed
signing.
anything.
Or approving, excuse me.
Well, it would be subject to my approval and then the mayor ultimately signing it. So if they give us a contract that is just outrageous,
Right.
then I just would never approve it and
Yeah.
therefore the mayor would not be authorized
Okay,
to
we're
sign
not on the
it.
hook.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if anything came back weird, or the scope changed, or the pricing, or the
It
terms
would have to
changed,
come back to
anything
you.
else, it would have to come back. I couldn't sign that because that's not what you approved.
Okay.
Or that's not what you authorized me to be able to do. So if anything from this part changes, then I can't sign because we don't have approval.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And then my last question, in the scope, I know we talked about community involvement. Where within these 5 stages will we bring in the community so that they can then add their input and their feedback on what's going to happen with this space? I don't see it in the scope. Is that something that should be outlined so we can have that drawn in and include the citizens in this process?
I would say task 3, step 2 and 3. And we enumerated that too, and that's something we wanted to do. That wouldn't be something that Jacobs, it wouldn't be in the scope because that's not something we're paying Jacobs to facilitate.
Okay.
That would be us saying, hey, here's the concepts, what's your feedback? You know, on them, and we communicate that back to Jacobs
Sure.
on that.
Sure, but that is something that we're going to make sure happens at task 3.
Oh yeah, we control that.
Correct.
So, I
Okay.
mean, you know, Jacobs will do whatever we tell them to do, as far as that
Either
goes.
there or at some point in here, because I feel strongly about that too.
Always.
And I've been telling people that we're gonna make it a public process. The only caveat to that is we can't bring in too many people too early in the process, otherwise we'll never get anywhere.
Right.
Because we're gonna get a lot of different thoughts, we're gonna get a lot of feedback, well, just don't do anything. You know, we're gonna get a lot of feedback of, don't do any more housing. We're gonna get back, you know, we're gonna get a lot of feedback that just won't be feasible. So we need to temper some of that with, you know, having a little bit clearer idea of what can get there, what can go there. So I'm thinking we're doing it at the point where we either have 2
Attach 3 for
doable
sure.
concepts.
3.
Huh?
You'll have 3 draft concepts.
Yeah, but I think we even probably don't bring in,
Well, they'll give us 3 after 3, and if you wanted to pick 2 to present, then you could do
Yeah,
that before
maybe.
task 4. And you can do it a couple different ways. You're not
We're
held
not-
down to just having a meetings. We can push this stuff out. We can pass it out so people see it. I mean, along the way, there'll be a lot of communication.
we
stuff.
can start doing some educational process, we could put something in the magazine, we could create a stakeholder group and bring in people like maybe the pastors from the churches and somebody from East Side and North Side and people from the Grove, you know,
And other residents.
and citizens. Yeah, some citizen representatives and things like that, to where it's not, you know, a 500-person town hall, but it's a 50-person kind of group where things can be explained and, you know. So there's a lot we can do on there, and there's nothing set.
Okay, good. The first thing that comes to mind is how Gwinnett has theirs at the Sunrise Baptist Church, and they'll have all the little easels, and you're right. That's where my mind goes, how they get citizens feedback. So I just was.
That's
yeah,
pretty
that's-
standard.
Well, and we don't need to figure this out
Correct.
tonight.
I just want to make sure that it is
The
a
question
address.
that I have is, they're coming up with these concepts, who's giving them, I mean, I understand they have the growth, but when they're coming up with the concept, are they taking any of the community needs and wants?
Yeah.
Pre-concept.
Yes, it's in here that, well, they start with, they'll start with city staff up here in task 1. Their kickoff meeting with city staff. They'll develop a base map site diagram for the sites because, you know, you are limited to the space that you've got. They'll look at constraints there. Then they'll be doing, so they're gonna, when they do that kickoff meeting, they'll be talking and interviewing us. I think, didn't I read that somewhere? Am I making this up?
I don't know, it does say kickoff meeting with city staff. So what we do, well, in my mind, is gathering information from the city, but like you
Right,
said,
we'll
develop
sit down and talk with them about, this is kind of where we're thinking, you know, but we don't want to direct that process too much at this stage. You know, we want them to be creative and innovative and look at what really can happen.
And subject to the facts of the,
the
basically,
property.
then the market study and all that, we don't have those answers yet.
Yeah.
So once they do that, then they can, I mean, there's only a couple of ways it can go over there.
Yeah,
You know, it's
And
either residential, commercial and residential, and then what does that look like? And then that'll all be bound by the infrastructure requirements, and you gotta see where the sewer is, and you gotta build a deck, or however you're gonna do it. There's a lot of things then, based on each use, and then you just whittle it down until, I guess you get to those 3 choices after they do their planning and analysis work, which we don't have the scope to, because we're not designers, per se.
Task 2 and Task 5 will do a lot of that nitty gritty that we just frankly don't have capacity or access to data to do on the professional side of what is feasible in the market. And all of this is on the foundation of what Jacobs has done for us in terms of long-term strategic planning and our comprehensive plan, which is informed by the public as well. So that's the foundation we're lucky that we get to start from with them rather than starting over and kind of catching someone up on the conversations from the last couple of years.
and it's stuff, you know, at some point, we gotta rely on experts that do this. Because, just to give you a case in point or an example, in our town center overlay, I believe, if you're doing residential like we did the Tomlin, it should have commercial on the first floor. Well, if you notice, the Tomlin does not. And that all came about through the process and through their market studies and their feasibility and their financial pro formas. If we had put that much retail space in that downtown area, we'd never get at least. We would have empty spaces because it would be too much space for what was going in. So those are things, I mean, at some point we have to trust somebody, right? And I think with how long it took Kirk to lease up those 2 commercial buildings, you know, I think that was spot on. So, you know, now this one, I personally think we need to stick to having some commercial and stuff on there, because if we get to where we're not having any on that first level, you know, but those are things that they will speak to.
It's the same issue over there too, you don't want to water it down over there either, but they'll be able to tell us that
They'll
based on the
yeah.
markets, the market cap, how much spending is happening, it's just stuff that we don't have access to, that will guide their main decisions.
So, 2 questions on topic different. The first one you all kind of answered, because I just want to know, we don't have that working relationship being new here with that firm. So I kind of got it from everybody. I was going to ask all you all and the tech people, the people being here, how you feel about the firm, if they giving us the best value from the dollar. It kind of sound like that's what you all are saying. They are the best value from the dollar, and they do great work for us.
They have.
So the second part is, are we okay? I love the idea, and I know we'll talk further about that, about creating a community board to kind of figure it out. But now that this is a public thing, are we allowed to get ideas from the public?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure we still, okay.
Sure.
You can always
Awesome,
submit
okay.
them too.
Yeah.
and it'll
It's
be-
not a secret.
No, I didn't want to use the word secret, but I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, not a secret, and certainly, I don't know that I'm ready to go shout it from the hilltops.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
if we have our
because-
own little people who I know, as you all know,
Yeah,
people
people
live
that
here
you
20
like,
years,
yeah.
you might have an idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes being heard makes people
Well,
feel.
it
Yeah.
always matters.
Well, all of those things, if some of the citizens are requesting something in particular, it may be something we want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
I think the danger of it, if you go out there now and you put that out there, you're going to have the naysayers, they're going to be the first ones to come, and then you're going to have a mess. So I
Yeah, so
think-
I'm sorry, not to go put it out, but like I said, for me, like if I have 5 people I know from
Yeah.
Brick Dance who've been here 20 years and
It's
ask
never,
them how you.
but it's never 5 people. You're going to
Yeah,
talk
but-
to 5 people,
yeah.
those 5 people are going to talk to 5 people.
Yeah, I can't do
It mushrooms.
Yes.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think it's worth saying too, that not only is this the best deal, but if we went with one of the other companies, we'd be paying them to do work that's already done. Like,
Yeah,
this
oh yeah,
is-
most
This is
definitely.
costing us less money, and we're not reinventing the wheel
Yeah.
by paying somebody to do.
And these
What
guys have
already
been
exists.
around, and again, there was a smaller company, Jacobs bought out JJG, it was just like 4 different partners that ran, it was local. They sold their engineering side to Jacobs, which was where all the value was, and then the planners that were left, Jim Somerville, he's actually president of the Georgia Planning League, and this guy is like pretty much like the Yoda of planning, and he's been around, he lives in Lawrenceville, he's seen Snellville for 20 years, and the people that work under him are real technical. And the good thing about a bigger company that I usually don't prefer to operate with places like Jacobs because of the contract issues and it gets too big is, the good thing is this is kind of their only planning outfit, and they kept the local guys, but then they have a whole national and international database and professionals for everything you can think about, sprinkler heads, like they have all the guys, so if they have some stuff outside of normal, they work within their firm, and it's paid dividends for us in the past, where we get a real specialized approach from highly skilled professionals, but we're not paying those guys directly, so it's just kind of all part of the package. So they've treated us pretty well for a long time.
Okay? All right. Any correspondence? City attorney's report?
we don't need that.
Any executive session? Updated projects?
Can I ask a question real quick? We had talked, in the last meeting, you talked about the amicus brief for Milton, did they have not been written yet? Wow.
Just, I'll be brief on this, but we shared kind of a draft parking ordinance on the Grove back in our last April meeting. Is there any comments or concerns about what we presented? Are folks ready for us to move forward with the kind of formal approval process for that?
All right.
Move on.
Okay, all right, good. Just need to know that, those details there. We talked about a lot of this stuff already, so I'll skip down to just the Briscoe Park Community Center. So they've done a majority of the framing of exterior walls, the administration building. They began installing some exterior windows there and brick on that side. They've completed the sewer tie-in, which is the building sewer service to the main there. They've poured a lot of the concrete, several of the concrete bases for the lights in the parking lot there, and the dumpster pad that will be out there, and the walls, they're moving along there. North of Wisteria, the contractor, or the project manager, so Larry Kaiser and his team prepared a punch list. So a punch list is kind of like when the project is nearly complete, well, is complete, there's several little things that might need to be taken care of or done. It's created in a long list called a punch list, that then the contractor has to take care of before they can receive their final payment. There. So they provided that to the contractor. They'll provide the contractor this week, and then they will contractor will review it and give us a date. Hopefully, by when they can complete all that stuff done. But functionally, it's complete. But there are punch lists that need to be taken care of. And then the last item, so proposed joint sewer project with the county. You all recall first. So, a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't know the exact time frame, but we worked with the county. So, big picture. In our town center area, comprehensive area, so here's 12478, you know, we're over here. This is Hickory and old Walmart, Snellville up here, everything down, so that's Oriented, Britt and South Gwinnett there, church building. We were for this sewer capacity issue, right, where most of these kind of orange lines are sewer lines that are 8-inch lines. And it really hamstrung a lot of the development opportunity outside of the Grove in this town center area. So last year, maybe the year before, I don't remember exactly, but we worked with the county on addressing some of these capacity issues. If we stopped where we were now, basically the Grove and this development we just talked about with Jacobs would be the only things that could really be redeveloped in the area. We'd be hamstrung. So this area here is the apartment complex that's coming online. It was Aris Development. It's right behind First on Main. In order for them to accommodate the growth that they needed to service those 300 something odd apartments, they needed to have a sewer line that could carry that weight and bring it down to this here and then ultimately down to this transfer station. I think to service their property, they needed like a 12-inch or something to service their development. We saw an opportunity with the county to connect to where they were going to be and bring up a sewer line to where Ollie's and Main Street, Planet Fitness, the post office, all of that up here, right? So the IGA that we signed with the county is essentially working on this line. It'd be an 18-inch line, about 1,600 feet, and it would connect to this existing manhole that services this proposed apartment complex, but it would bring the sewer down from all of this down to this point down to here. So it would open up redevelopment of all of this area should that come in the future, there. So in further conversations with the county on kind of where we stand here, down here at No Business Creek is a pinch point in the sewer system. So these red lines are larger lines here, and you can see they all converge right here. So all of this area, the sewer line kind of gravity all the way down to this transfer station. And these lines are 15 inches, these red lines, so almost twice the size of the orange. Where we stand on that is a lot of the redevelopment progress that could be made up here, even our own efforts on trying to add sewer capacity for redevelopment, are frustrated if this isn't addressed, because all of it flows down that way, right? And so the recent conversations we've had with the county is, well, this is great if we're trying to partner with you and partner with developers to address the sewer issue up here. This is great, but if we can't address this issue, this green spot here, then a lot of it is just in vain, there. So what we've had conversations with the county lately is, where is the upgrade of this line in your kind of capital project timeline? Is it a 5-year project, 10-year project? Where are you guys in that frame of mind? And if the city was able to work with you on a financial level, would there be a way to partner where we can work on getting this addressed quicker and upsizing right there? So the conversation that we've had with them is, they estimate to upgrade this line to 24 inches, which is what we would need to do in order to feel confident that all these 18-inch lines that we're putting in, or working with the county to put in, is sufficient It's about a $9.8 million estimate. Okay. Now, the conversation we've had with them is, right now we're projecting about $2 million in SPLOST overage. Okay, and what that means is whenever the county calls for a referendum on SPLOST, they give an estimate, their best guess on what they think over that 6-year period, what that SPLOST is going to collect. And the way that is broken down to each individual city in the county is based on the population that you have. So I think the county estimated like 1.2 billion, somewhere in that range, over that 6-year period of sales tax dollars. Our share of that is like 2% there, because it's our 20,000 people compared to everybody else in the county. So everyone gets a piece of the pie. Our piece of that pie is 2%. Yes?
I'm sorry, yeah, so ours is based on squarely population regardless of our output or input from the business or financial side that we put in. So we can be outsized in our output financially, but we still only get 2% of the pie.
Bingo. That's
So
right.
we definitely
That's
would
right.
be on the upper end.
Because the
That's right.
state will not give us information on point of sale, sales tax collections.
So there's nothing that says
Default to
that
that,
you have to do population, but every T-SPLOST lost agreement, all these OST agreements are all population.
And it's the easiest way to cut
It's
it out.
our,
Verifiable, it's
the service delivery strategy that gets negotiated with the county and all the cities every 10 years. That's kind of the way it's fallen back to. So the county takes whatever they're gonna take, and then what's left, the cities have to decide how to split that out, and it's to population.
So with that, there's opportunity that you might collect more money than you expect, there, and that's what we call overage. So we're about halfway through the 2023 SPLOST as far as the months that we've received collections. And what we're estimating is we might receive about $2 million in overage if the trend continues on the way that what the amounts we're collecting now. And so we propose to the county, well, if the city is willing to give $2 million in SPLOST dollars as our financial contribution to this project, would the county move forward with it?
Well, and just so you understand, they have to do this project. That's not on their like immediate minds. They're like 3 to 5 years before they start. So it's gonna get done by them at a certain point. There's no expediency to do it now just because of the funding, so.
Yeah. So if we're able to give a little bit of our funding to move them along, that would be part of the benefit, there. They felt like that was, a reasonable and negotiable deal for them. That if we were willing to commit that money to them, then we could work on an IGA that would be signed, and it would be put as part of their capital improvement budget, either in FY27 budget or the FY28 budget, which is a lot quicker than 5 or 10 years down the line. What they've told us is the way the IGA would work is they would be responsible for the design and the design, the permitting, the easements, the bidding, and they would work on the construction admin, so they're installing it, they're managing all of that. Our $2 million, essentially, $2 to $2.5 million actually, would go towards the construction phase of it. So it would go towards the end of the project, which means it'd give us more time to collect the money that we have, to see what we have available to give. They also mentioned if they were to start, let's just say we approved the intergovernmental agreement today, it would take them a while to be able to assign staff to start the design work. The design work they think would take a year, and then you probably have a year of, it's hard to tell here, but there's quite a bit of property all through here. I think they estimated like 40 easements they would have to get, there. They think that would probably take them a year. And then you've got, bidding, having the BOC approve it, so that's, another 3 to 6 month process. The contractor might start, another 3 to 6 months after that. So you're looking at, starting today, a 3-year, 2.5 to 3 year period before anything's actually happening down there. Which would line up, more or less with our SPOS collections and that SPOS ending, and knowing if we've got another SPOS approved in 29, you know, there. So this is what we're presenting to you all to think about and consider. You know, running out of time, so we can certainly continue this conversation. It's not like it's a super time sensitive. The county said, you'll give us an answer tomorrow. We're rescinding our deal or whatever, but it's something for us to mull over. But I want to have a good conversation on it. We're out of time now.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
One question is that we're allowing $2 million to a project that is going to start from 5 years from now. Is that $2 million, is this project that pertinent that we need to allocate that $2 million for a year that is, something's happening 5 years from now? Is there something else that is more pertinent that money can go to?
Well, I guess it depends on what your priorities are. I mean, if we're talking about the redevelopment of downtown, it's necessary. It's not, you know, it has to happen.
So
If that's
has
not
to happen.
something that's a priority for you all, then it's not as pertinent to other
I'm
things.
just asking, because yes, I do believe that this sewer system has to be upgraded. However, is it something that we have to do now, or is it something that we can do?
We've got to start the process now, because it takes 3 years for them to even start turning dirt. So, you know, if we don't start now, and I think us being willing to financially contribute speeds them up.
Yeah, it could be,
You know,
increase
there.
the political side of it.
And gets them moving a little bit faster.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's all about our priorities. If the redevelopment of downtown is not a priority for us, then this doesn't matter as much. If it is a priority for us, which, you know, I believe it is, then we've got to do it. And we'd rather do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, there's no capacity now to build anything new at this point above that green. Like, the only, like, after the purple, the big purple one goes in for Eris, they have already been calculated to be able to go through the green line, but as of now, after that, anything that's not on the board is off the board until that gets done, and that's kind of the finality of it all. Like, anything above the green up there are really the what is that, a transfer station? There's no more capacity, 0% for anything new that's not being like replaced at the same rate. So if you had like a huge shopping center, which the one up there on Wisteria, is that Wisteria Village is what they call it? Something like that doesn't have a huge sewer demand because commercial just doesn't. It's just a lot smaller. So if you were to come back and put the same use there at the same square footage, you're probably okay. But if you wanted to change it or add some homes or, you know, some different uses, they're gonna get stopped, and that's the problem over at the old Walmart building too. They have no path down without kind of doing some crazy stuff. So everything north of that, for any kind of real commercial or residential use, there's no capacity right now. So we're pretty much shut off now. Our project, our piece that we have where the Shells things, we got early capacity on that, so we're good there mostly, but after that, and everything that's already kind of been put in, it's called, what is it, a certificate of need, or what is it called, a capacity request? Yeah, so any of those are gonna get bounced because, or the developers have to pay. In the case of Walmart, it's like a $3 million job to get it down there. So it pretty much now, it's just gonna start the process, but it's already locked up now. We're done. We can't do anything more under the current layout until that green piece gets done. So that's why we want to get it started now, just to have that option to get Gwinnett moving, because we're not going to move until we get a little cash.
A quick question, I know we have to go. Can the station itself has already been annotated to handle that capacity, or are years from now we're going to be visiting and upgrading the station to?
I think that would be part of
Yeah,
the process.
yeah, part of the process. Okay.
Good thing we don't have to pay for anything.
We don't have to pay for anything, right?
Yeah, but I do still want to talk more about this.
Yeah, we should.
Because I want to know what's the developer buy-in, number one, if they're developing on our land, do they have a responsibility?
There is a developer buying on this.
Well, I'm talking about if they're building it, and we have a failed sewer system, and we can't expand capacity, how, is this our responsibility, or is this, are they having, contributing to?
Yeah, I can have that conversation as far as development impact, just so you understand the mechanism of how it all works. It cleans up a lot of the process too, of how, like, if you were to show up, come in, and it's different in the county than the city too, so it's not complex, so call me up when we can talk about it.
I think the county's a little bit excited about this, because I've had conversations with the
The county has been a little bit less have to do this on the front end until recently, like the relationship wasn't there, so we, Mayor Butch and that couple kind of pushed, come on, y'all owe us some money. Kind of thing. Y'all owe us some improvements, we put, like you said, we put a ton of money into this city. We got no sewer work out of it, and that's why the chair was more than happy to help us on that. And then Calvin's here, because they realized that there's been a, I don't say dereliction, but they've not given
It's going to.
the resources they should have been, but we weren't necessarily pushing hard enough, you know, so now.
Okay, I have the time as 7:35, so we need to go ahead and adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Aye.